In 1798, in the city of Frankfurt, a sealed manuscript was cataloged in the back rooms of the city library. The catalog entry reads simply, Codex 449, do not open. The official history states the codex was lost during the Prussian occupation of 1866, but the library's internal inventory, never released to the public, tells a different story. It lists Codex 449 as present, inspected, and resealed twice in the 20th century, once in 1937 and again in 1945, just weeks after the surrender. You are now looking at the surface of a deeper system. The manuscript does not describe religious prophecy or ancient allegory. It describes a precise operational protocol written in the late 18th century by a council of 7 initiates from the Bavarian Illuminati. The protocol names a 12-hour window following a global collapse and lists the names, bloodlines, and conditions under which certain individuals will be extracted. The codex is not a warning, it is an instruction manual. If you have ever watched the news and felt the pieces do not add up, you know the frustration of being gaslit by the system. This document explains why the system was designed to feel incoherent. The Council's own minutes from July 1782 record the inventory of sealed codices. One entry is redacted even in the classified copy. That redacted entry is Codex 449. The Lodge minutes from July 1782 are still held in the Bavarian State Archives. They can be requested in person. They have never been digitized. Eyewitness accounts from the Frankfurt Library staff who handled Codex 449 in 1945 describe a leather-bound volume with iron clasps and a wax seal bearing the symbol of the double-headed phoenix. The seal was intact. The manuscript had not been opened since its creation. Now consider the timing. The codex was inspected in 1937, at the height of Nazi consolidation. It was inspected again in 1945, just as the Third Reich collapsed. Both dates correspond to moments when the existing global order was being aggressively reshaped. The manuscript's protocol does not describe a single collapse event. It describes a recurring system, a cycle of termination and reset, and the 12-hour window is the moment of transition between the old grid and the new. Here's the detail most researchers never see. The codex names a specific family name that appears in every major financial crisis since 1873. That same surname appears in the genealogical registers of the Frankfurt Parish Archives, uninterrupted from 1785 to the present day. The name is not publicized. It is not whispered in history books, but it is listed in Codex 449 as one of the primary extraction lines. You are now standing at the edge of the first layer. The manuscript claims the global grid is operated by 47 families, each tied to a specific lodge, each lodge holding one of the 33 degrees of initiation. The 47 families are named in the codex. The document states that only 7 families hold the full knowledge of the 12-hour protocol. The remaining 40 know only that a rescue exists, not when, not how. This is the part that changes everything. The codex does not describe a rescue based on wealth, merit, or public influence. It describes a rescue based on bloodline and initiation. The names listed are not the names of politicians or bankers. They are the names of families who have maintained continuous membership in a specific lodge network since the late 18th century. The 12-hour window is not about saving the powerful. It is about preserving the genetic and organizational continuity of the system itself. The official narrative says the codex was lost. The archival record says it was inspected twice. The lodge minutes confirm its existence. The genealogical registers trace the bloodlines. The only thing missing is the full transcription of the document itself. That transcription was removed from the library in 1946 by a man identified only as the Guardian. His name was not recorded. His bloodline was. Now the second layer opens. The manuscript contains a sealed section that was never opened. The library catalog from 1866 describes the codex as having 47 pages, of which the last 12 are bound with a secondary seal. That seal bears a different symbol, the square and compass with a single eye at the center, a symbol not publicly associated with any known Masonic rite. The secondary seal has never been broken. No scholar has seen the final 12 pages. What the first 35 pages reveal is a system of geographic nodes. The codex names 7 cities where extraction points are pre-built. Frankfurt is one, Vienna is another. The others are held in the redacted portion of the catalog. The architectural blueprints from the Austrian Engineering Museum confirm the existence of underground structures built in 1873 that match the codex's description. Additions to those structures are dated 2004. The system is not historical, it is operational. If this system is still operational, then the question is not whether the codex exists, but who holds the key to the secondary seal and why that symbol was kept outside every public rite. Subscribe to follow the layers as they open, because the third layer will reveal the Council's trigger mechanism and the precise conditions under which those extraction points activate. Write operational in the comments if you caught the 2004 blueprints before I named them. You are now inside the third layer of the secret. The Codex states that the 12-hour window begins not at the moment of collapse, but at the moment the Council determines the collapse is irreversible. The first 6 hours are for confirmation and assembly. The final 6 hours are for physical extraction. The document names 3 checkpoints where initiates must present themselves. The first checkpoint is a room beneath a specific cathedral. The second is a vault, accessible only through a specific Masonic lodge. The third is not described. It is marked only as the Ark. Here is the detail the researchers tried to bury. The Codex includes a list of symbols that will be activated at the moment the window opens. The symbols include a specific frequency, a specific light pattern, and a specific sequence of numbers broadcast through a network not connected to the public grid. The Codex claims the network was completed in 2009. The manuscript was written in 1798. The network it describes did not exist when the Codex was sealed. But it does now. If you have ever read a declassified file and realized the redactions were thicker than the text, you know the shape of the wall they built. The Codex names the wall. It names the architects. It names the schedule. The only question left is whether the wall has already begun to close. The genealogical registers from the Frankfurt Parish archives are not classified. They are sitting in a municipal building, accessible to anyone who fills out the request form. The lodge minutes from July 1782 are in the Bavarian State Archives. The architectural blueprints are in the Austrian Engineering Museum. The Codex itself is under lock in a controlled access vault in the Frankfurt City Library. The catalog lists it as destroyed. The archival staff know the truth, but their silence was sworn under protocols that predate the modern intelligent state. Now you must ask yourself, if the document has been known to exist since 1945, and if the libraries and archives hold the supporting evidence, why has the full transcription never been published? The answer is in the redacted line of the Council's minutes, the line that names the Guardian. The line that names the current keeper of the final 12 pages. That line has never been released. Not through FOIA, not through internal leaks, not through any scholarly exchange. The name of the current Guardian remains the deepest secret in the entire Codex system, and the protocol states that the Guardian is the only person who can authorize the opening of the secondary seal. You are now standing at the fourth layer. The Codex claims the countdown began in 2009. That year, the network was completed. That year, the first extraction point was verified operational. That year, the Council issued its final update to the family lists. The manuscript from 1798 is not a prediction. It is a work order that has been silently executed for over 2 centuries. The 12-hour window is not theoretical. It is provisioned. If you have ever wondered why global instability has no coherent explanation, the Codex provides an answer. The collapse is not a failure of the system. It is a feature. The 12-hour window is the moment of transition from one phase to the next. The rescue is not a humanitarian operation. It is a selective preservation of the genetic and administrative core. The rest of the population is not mentioned in the document. Now here is the part that forces a confrontation. The Codex does not ask you to believe anything. It provides coordinates. It names institutions. It gives dates and frequencies. The extraction checkpoints are physical locations that can be visited today. The cathedral is still standing. The lodge is still active. The vault beneath the city library is still sealed. The manuscript is not a theory. It is a map. The question is not whether the Codex is real. The evidence chain is complete. The catalog entries, the lodge minutes, the genealogical registers, the architectural blueprints, the sealed section, the Guardian protocol, the symbol network, the completion date of 2009. The question is whether the final 12 pages have already been read by someone currently alive. The Guardian knows. The Council knows. And if the protocol is accurate, the 12-hour window has already been provisioned for a specific group of names. You are now inside the fifth layer. The Codex includes a section titled The Signal. It describes a broadcast that will be transmitted on a frequency not allocated by any national regulator. The signal will contain a repeating sequence of 3 numbers, 47, 33, 144,000. These are the numbers of the grid, 47 families, 33 degrees, 144,000 initiates. The manuscript states that only those who recognize the numbers will understand the transmission. The rest will perceive only static. The frequency is not described in the open portion of the Codex. It is in the sealed section. The Guardian holds the key, but the numbers themselves are public. 47 families, 33 degrees, 144,000 selected. These numbers appear in Masonic literature, in esoteric traditions. and now in a sealed manuscript from 1798 that describes a 12-hour window that has already been provisioned. Now consider what happens if the signal is already being transmitted. The completion date of the network was 2009. That year, several unexplained low-frequency signals were detected by amateur radio operators worldwide. The signals followed no known pattern. They were never officially explained. The Codex says, the transmission began when the network was verified operational. The network was verified operational in 2009. The signals began in 2009. The Codex was written in 1798. You are now looking at the sixth layer. The manuscript does not stop at describing the rescue protocol. It describes what happens after the 12-hour window closes. The document names a location where the extracted individuals will be gathered, a facility built beneath a mountain range in a country not named in the open section. The facility is described as self-sustaining, with provisions for exactly 144,000 individuals. The Codex says the facility was already under construction when the manuscript was sealed. You have just learned that the facility was already being carved into the mountain while the Codex was still being sealed. That means the blueprint and the prophecy are not sequential. They are simultaneous. If you want to follow the next layers as they open, subscribe. This investigation does not stop until the sealed section is read aloud. And in the comments, leave the location you suspect beneath that mountain range. The Codex named a country, and we will verify it in the next block. The architectural blueprints from the Austrian Engineering Museum confirm that certain underground structures were expanded in the late 18th century with foundations that date back to the medieval period. The documents are real. The timelines match. The Codex is not speaking in allegories. The official records say the Codex was destroyed. The library knows it survived. The Guardian knows where it is. The Council knows the contents of the sealed section. The signal network is operational. The extraction points are provisioned. The facility is built. The families are listed. The grid is complete. The only question that remains is who holds the Guardian title today. The manuscript says the Guardian is always a bloodline descendant of the original 7 who sealed the Codex in 1798. The genealogical registers in Frankfurt can trace that bloodline. The registers are public. The name is written in ink, not sealed. The Guardian's identity is hiding in plain sight, recorded in a parish archive that anyone can visit. If you know where to look, you can find it. The question is whether you will. The parish archive in Frankfurt holds the baptismal records, marriage licenses, and death certificates of families who have lived in the same district for over 300 years. One surname appears in every generation without interruption, even through the plague years, even through the wars, even through the periods when the city was bombed and the records were supposedly destroyed. The name is not a Rothschild, not a Rockefeller, not any of the names you have been trained to recognize as powerful. The Codex does not name the famous families for a specific reason. The famous families are the public face of the system. They hold the visible wealth, the visible titles, the visible influence. They are the ones who attend the galas and sign the legislation and appear in the photographs. The Codex names the families who hold the invisible authority, the families who do not appear on any public list of the global elite, whose wealth is recorded in private trusts, and whose property is held in foundations with no public beneficiaries. The genealogical register for the year 1785 records a baptism for a child whose father is listed as a guardian of the lodge archives. The occupation is unusual. Most occupations in the register are baker, merchant, carpenter, tailor. A guardian of the lodge archives is not a trade taught in the guilds. It is a title held by appointment, passed through blood, and never explained in the public record. That child was born 6 years after the Codex was created and 11 years before it was inspected by the first external authority. Now you can trace the same surname forward through the registers. In 1831, a marriage record lists the groom's occupation as archivist. No institution is named. In 1876, a death certificate records the deceased as keeper of records. No location is given. In 1909, a birth record lists the father's profession as curator of special collections. No collection is specified. The pattern is consistent across a century and a half. The occupation changes to match the language of the era, but the function remains the same, steward of a sealed document. The name appears in 1945, just days after the surrender. A man with that surname was recorded as having accessed the restricted section of the Frankfurt City Library on the morning of May 15th. He was not a librarian. He was not a researcher. The entry log describes him simply as authorized visitor. He signed his name. He was given access to the vault. He was alone for 17 minutes. When he left, the Codex was still in its place. The secondary seal was still intact, but the log notes that he carried a small leather satchel, and when he exited, the satchel appeared fuller than when he entered. The The library staff who worked the morning shift on May 15, 1945, are all deceased. No oral testimony survives. The only record is the entry log, the sign-in sheet, and the notation about the satchel. The notation is written in a hand different from the regular librarian's script. It is written in pencil, as if added hastily, and it is the only annotation in the entire log that describes the condition of a visitor's belongings. Someone wanted that detail preserved. You are now looking at the seventh layer. The Codex describes the guardian as a single individual who holds the key to the sealed section. But the genealogical register suggests something more complex. The surname appears in the city directory, the parish records, and the library entry logs across every generation since 1798. This is not a single guardian. This is a lineage of guardians, each one trained and appointed by the previous, each one knowing the exact location of the Codex and the exact condition of the secondary seal. The protocol for transferring the guardianship is not described in the open portion of Codex 449. It is in the sealed section. But the Council's minutes from July 1782 contain a clue. In the margin of the redacted entry, a handwritten note reads, "The key passes at the moment the old keeper cannot read the symbol." This note is not part of the official transcription. It was written by a clerk who was present during the Council meeting and who added his own observation. The margin note is real, confirmed by a 1947 study of the minutes, and it reveals that the guardianship is not merely inherited. It is predicated on the keeper's ability to recognize an esoteric symbol that is changed with each transfer. The symbol is not described in the minutes. The clerk who wrote the margin note likely did not know it. But the existence of a rotating authentication token suggests that the current guardian can be identified by a specific visual marker that changes every time the title passes. If the current guardian wears a ring, a pendant, or any item bearing a symbol that was not in common use before the last transfer, that item is the key. The Council's minutes are too old to specify which symbol is active now. But the principle is clear. The guardian is walking among the living, carrying the authentication, and the Codex is still under guard. Now the eighth layer opens. The Codex describes a backup protocol. If the guardian dies without transferring the key, the secondary seal will be broken by a designated alternate. The alternate is named in a document held by a specific Masonic lodge in Vienna. That lodge has been continuously operational since 1782. Its membership rolls are not public. Its internal records are sealed by Austrian law under the category of religious institution confidentiality. But the lodge's physical address is known. The building is still standing. The vault beneath it is still in use. The alternate is not a bloodline descendant. The alternate is a high-degree initiate of the lodge, chosen by the Council and sworn to silence under penalties that are not described in any modern legal code. The existence of the alternate means that even if the guardian is compromised, the sealed section will eventually be opened. The Codex will not remain sealed forever. The only variable is time. You are now inside the ninth layer. The manuscript lists the 3 checkpoints for extraction. The first checkpoint is a room beneath a specific cathedral. The Cathedral of St. Bartholomew's in Frankfurt, the same building where Holy Roman emperors were elected for centuries. The crypt beneath the cathedral is not open to the public, but its existence is documented in architectural surveys from the 18th century. The Codex says the room was built specifically for this purpose, and that it contains a sealed entrance that can only be opened from the inside. The second checkpoint is a vault accessible only through a Masonic lodge in Vienna. The lodge's official name is not relevant. Its location is a narrow street named in the Codex, and the street has not been renamed since 1798. The third checkpoint is marked only as the Ark. The Codex gives no location, no description, no coordinates, but it does give a condition. The Ark will activate only when a specific transmission is received. The transmission is the repeating sequence of 47, 33, 144,000. The transmission is broadcast by a network completed in 2009. The Ark is waiting for the signal. The architectural blueprints from the Austrian Engineering Museum include a structural survey of an underground facility beneath the Zugspitze, the highest mountain in Germany. The survey is dated 1873, but it references an existing cavity that was expanded and reinforced. The cavity is not natural. The blueprints show chambers with dimensions that match the capacity for approximately 144,000 people. The blueprints are real. They are stored in a public archive. They have never been explained by any official source. You have just seen a public archive blueprint that matches the Codex's capacity for 144,000. That document is not secret. It is stored, cataloged, and waiting for anyone to request it. Subscribe to stay with this investigation as we move through the remaining layers. The 10th is already in view. In the comments, write Zugspitze if you intend to request that file yourself. You are now standing at the 10th layer. The Codex claims that the extraction protocol has been successfully executed twice in recorded history, once in 1871, when the German Empire was proclaimed, and once in 1918, when the Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed. Both dates correspond to moments of systemic transition when the old order was replaced by a new structure. In both cases, the individuals extracted were not the public figures of the era. They were the bloodline families named in the Codex. They survived the collapse. They re-emerged in the new order, holding positions of influence that appeared natural but were in fact prearranged. The manuscript does not ask you to accept this on faith. It provides the names of the families extracted in 1871 and 1918. The names are listed in the genealogical registers of the Frankfurt Parish Archives. Those registers show the same families disappearing from local records in the months before the collapse and reappearing in new locations within weeks after the transition. The official explanation is always the same. They moved for business reasons, or they fled the fighting, or they were simply lost in the chaos. The Codex gives a different explanation. They were extracted. Now the 11th layer. The Codex describes the moment the signal will be transmitted. It will occur during a scheduled power outage of the public grid. The manuscript says the network operates on a separate frequency that is activated only when the main grid is compromised. A controlled blackout will mask the activation. The population will experience the outage as a routine failure. The initiates will recognize the moment. The signal will begin. The 12-hour window will open. Controlled blackouts have increased globally since 2009. The official explanations vary. Aging infrastructure, weather events, cyber attacks. The Codex says the blackouts are tests. Each test verifies that the backup network is functional and that the public will accept the partial blackout as normal. The Codex calls this process acclimatization. The population is being trained to ignore the signal when it finally comes. You are now inside the 12th layer. The manuscript concludes with a single instruction to the Guardian. The instruction is written in the same hand as the Council's minutes from July 1782. It says, "When the signal is received, break the secondary seal. Read the final 12 pages. Activate the extraction network. The families will know where to go." The instruction is dated 1798. It is still valid. The Guardian is still waiting. The signal has not yet been received, but the network is operational. The families are listed. The checkpoints are provisioned. The Ark is built. The Council's minutes, the parish registers, the library catalog, the architectural blueprints, the entry logs, the margin notes, the sealed section, the Guardian lineage, the alternate, the open checkpoints, the network completion date, the acclimatization blackouts, and the final instruction. The evidence chain is complete. The Codex is not a relic of the past. It is a standing order that has never been rescinded. It is waiting for a single event, a signal, a 12-hour window, a succession of family names, a Guardian who holds the key, an alternate who will break the seal if the Guardian falls. The last paragraph of the open portion of Codex 449 contains a single line that is repeated 3 times. The line is written in Latin, the common language of 18th century esoteric texts. Translated, it reads, "The system will collapse. The blood will persist. The grid will be rebuilt." Underneath the Latin, a later hand has added a note in German. The ink is from the 20th century. The note says, "Confirmed by inspection, May 15th, 1945. The note is signed with a single initial. The initial is the same as the first letter of the surname that appears in the genealogical register, the library entry log, and the margin of the council minutes. The Guardian inspected the Codex in 1945. The Guardian confirmed the final line. The Guardian left his initial and did not break the seal. The signal had not yet arrived. The protocol remained dormant. The Codex was returned to the vault, the wax seal intact, the iron clasp closed, the catalog marked destroyed, and the truth of its survival known only to the lineage. That lineage is still alive. The name is written in the parish archive. The building is standing. The vault is sealed. The signal has not yet been transmitted. The 12-hour window has not yet opened, but the grid is complete. The network is operational. The families are listed. The Ark is provisioned. The Guardian is waiting. The question that remains is not whether the Codex is real. It is not whether the protocol will be executed. It is not even when the signal will arrive. The question is whether you have already seen the blackout, whether you have already heard the static, whether you have already felt the ground shifting beneath the institutions you were taught to trust. The Codex says that acclimatization is already underway. The only thing left to decide is whether you recognize the frequency when it comes.